What if everything you thought you knew about your partner, your marriage, and your home turned out to be a lie? This is the story of how one seemingly ordinary day became the tipping point for a husband whose world was about to be turned upside down. The front entrance to our house is rarely used. We typically enter through the side door leading to the garage or the sliding glass doors that open to the patio. To the right of the entryway is the formal living room, which is always kept immaculate but is the least used room in our home. To the left at the end of the entry hall is a hallway connecting to 3 bedrooms, including our spacious master suite and a guest bathroom. The formal living room, always dark due to the heavy curtains, has a white camelback sofa against the back wall, flanked by large wing-back chairs on either side, all facing a walnut coffee table. This room, usually unimportant, became a significant spot one fateful morning. I found myself in one of the wing-back chairs, facing away from the archway between the entrance and the living room, contemplating my life and the potential fallout from my crumbling marriage. The thought of ending things with Emily, my wife, brought a slew of worries. Our friends picking sides, the loss of our home, alimony payments, legal expenses, and my net worth being cut in half. But above all, dealing with Emily's vengeful nature was a daunting prospect. In the midst of my thoughts, I heard the side door open. Emily returning from grocery shopping. I should have pretended to be in our bedroom to avoid another confrontation. If she found me here, it would surely lead to another argument. Emily had a knack for starting fights over trivial things or for no reason at all, keeping me constantly on edge. She could drag out arguments for weeks over the most minor issues, and I always ended up appeasing her, thinking it was better to end the disputes quickly. Life with constant tension was unbearable, and I always aimed to resolve conflicts as soon as possible. After a decade of marriage, I saw no solution other than death or divorce. Still, I kept trying to improve things, mainly for my own sanity rather than to make life easier for Emily. I heard the freezer door close, knowing she had put away the frozen food. Expecting her to call me to bring in the rest of the groceries, I braced myself for her orders and criticism. To avoid her as long as possible, I stayed still, waiting for her call or whistle. The whistle, similar to one you would use for a dog, had become almost intolerable. Instead of her voice, I heard light footsteps as she approached the entryway. If I had looked, I would have seen her stop at the tiled entry floor, peering down the hallway to make sure she was alone. Quietly, she seemed to consider calling me from the car before coming inside, but assumed I was busy working on the gazebo in the backyard. Seconds later, I heard her cell phone beep as she dialed a number. Now standing just a few feet away from the back of the chair where I sat, Emily began talking to someone about plans for Thursday afternoon. She mentioned calling him at work after 1 o'clock and went over the details of their meeting. Still unnoticed, I listened as Emily wrapped up the call with a cheerful goodbye. I heard the flip phone close and her footsteps retreat across the carpet toward the sliding glass door. She whistled and called out to me, thinking I was working on the gazebo project in the backyard. She had no idea I was sitting right there, my heart pounding and my breath heavy. I had faced tense situations before thanks to my time in the Army and other experiences. The first rule is not to panic unless you are under direct attack. Use your knowledge to your advantage. Choose the right moment to act. Keep a neutral expression. Control your breathing and appear normal. I stood up and walked into the den saying, "I'm here. I was in the bathroom. I've got to run to the hardware store and get some parts for the gazebo." I walked through the den toward the kitchen and the side door, avoiding eye contact with her as I passed by. She noticed my flushed face and told me to wear a hat, worried about sunburn. She did not want to see my skin peeling in a few days. She also reminded me about the groceries that needed to be brought in and told me not to be gone all day. After she dropped her phone into her purse on the kitchen counter, Emily went out to inspect my work on the gazebo, leaving her criticisms for later. Her communication style was typical, mostly consisting of instructions and either implied or outright criticism. As she walked into the backyard, I grabbed her phone, checked the last dialed number, memorized it, and put the phone back in her purse. After bringing in the groceries, I left in my small pickup truck, but instead of heading to the hardware store, I drove to a nearby park. For the first 15 minutes, I replayed the short conversation in my mind, making sure I remembered every word. There was no doubt about its meaning. Emily was having an affair, likely in our house, maybe even in our bed while I was at work. Furious, I felt like I was funding her infidelity by working to support her. Who was the man she called Daddy? It was not her real father. The area code was local, and her parents lived 1,000 miles away in California. Early in our marriage, she sometimes called me Daddy during sex, though she had stopped doing so. I thought it might have been a hint at wanting kids, but we decided not to have children a couple of years into the marriage. She was undoubtedly a daddy's girl. I considered my options. Her lover would likely enter through the back gate on Thursday, probably walking down the alley. I thought about confronting him there, but I also needed to deal with my cheating wife. If the lover was on foot, his car had to be nearby. It struck me that he would probably leave his car at the park. Figuring out who this person was became crucial. The obvious approach was to call the number from her cell phone. Having someone else make the call, pretending it was a wrong number, seemed like a good idea, and a woman would be more likely to get information. Who could make that call? Who else might know about this affair? The answer was clear: Emily's best friend Lisa. If Lisa did not know, I doubted anyone else did. Emily's sister was unlikely to have any information since they had been estranged since her sister's messy divorce. Could I ask Lisa? I had known her as long as Emily had, and Lisa had always been my friend too. However, women tend to be more loyal to each other than to their spouses. Lisa was married to Mike, who was 15 years older than her, and they seemed to have the most loving marriage. I figured Lisa would tell Mike almost anything. Would she reveal information about Emily, though? Did I consider Mike a friend? We were not close friends, but Mike was a stand-up guy, and I would have thought he would have told me if he knew something like this. I decided to try Mike. That meant driving to the golf course where Mike, semi-retired, volunteered on Saturdays as a Goodwill ambassador in exchange for a free round of golf during the week when the course was not busy. On the way there, I planned my approach carefully. I could not just blurt it out. What if it got back to Lisa and then to Emily? I had to be discreet. Riding in a golf cart with Mike as he checked on conditions at the 7th hole, I brought up a hypothetical question. I asked him how he handled confidential conversations. Did he feel obligated to keep them secret, or would he share them with Lisa? Mike gave me an odd look and continued driving for several yards. I clarified, asking if he and Lisa always shared what they heard from other people, even if it was confidential. It was just a hypothetical scenario. Mike pulled over onto the grass, turned to look directly at me and said, "Do you have a specific question for me? If you do, ask away," maintaining an intense look on his face. I asked Mike if he could keep our conversation confidential if I posed a question. I assured him that I would not bring it up unsolicited. But if Lisa were to ask, I would not lie to her. That was my operating principle. Mike seemed to understand my need for discretion and agreed. Composing myself, I directly asked him if he knew anything about a possible affair my wife Emily might be having. To make it clearer, I asked if he had any knowledge of Emily being unfaithful either currently or in the past. Mike's response came out in a rush like a dam breaking. He recounted an incident from last New Year's Eve at the Holden's party. Everyone was outside preparing for the fireworks display when Lisa fell ill from the champagne. Despite her infrequent drinking, she went upstairs to the bathroom on the landing. While she was getting sick, someone tried the doorknob. After washing up and leaving the bathroom, she heard noises coming from down the hall where it turns toward the bedrooms. Thinking someone else might be ill, she walked down and looked. There, at the end of the hallway, was Emily, pinned against the wall by some big guy. He had her legs wrapped around his waist. Emily saw Lisa, smiled, and gestured for her to leave. On the way home, Lisa shared the details with Mike. Lisa and Emily, being longtime friends, felt the need to discuss the matter before taking any action. Lisa suggested telling me immediately, but ultimately she had a conversation with Emily. Emily claimed the incident was a one-time thing, fueled by drinks, a fight with me, and aggressive advances from the guy, Buddy White, a known bully who married into money. Lisa, aware of Buddy's reputation, decided to keep it quiet, not wanting to jeopardize my marriage over a single incident. However, Mike made it clear to Lisa that if I ever asked directly, he would not lie. The burden of this secret had weighed heavily on Mike for the past 5 months, and he was relieved to finally tell me. He was deeply sorry for what I was going through, but unfortunately, it was not over. Mike revealed that Lisa had recently overheard Emily talking to Buddy on the phone, indicating the affair had not ended. He suggested we head back to his place to discuss things with Lisa. We left the golf course in separate vehicles and headed to Mike and Lisa's house. Mike broke the news to Lisa, who sat down in tears. She had harbored high hopes for Emily and me, willing to offer any support she could. However, upon learning that the affair was ongoing, Lisa felt a sense of betrayal similar to mine. Until now, she had believed Emily's assurances that the affair had ended and had based her actions, or rather inaction, on that falsehood. "Lisa, there's something you could do for me," I said. "I checked Emily's phone and I have the number she called. Would you mind giving him a call, pretend it's a wrong number, and try to get his name? I need to confirm who she's involved with now." Lisa, an editor working remotely with a PhD in English literature and a theater background, devised the call with her finest acting and social engineering skills. She opted for her impeccable English accent, which always left a lasting impression. Dialing with the phone on speaker, she heard, "Hi, this is Buddy White." Lisa blinked and said, "Sorry, wrong number." Although unsatisfying, the revelation was clear. Emily had not ended the affair with Buddy. Discussing our next steps, I insisted on catching the two of them during their upcoming Thursday encounter to have substantial evidence. I wanted to confront Emily armed with facts, catching her in the act, and exposing the lies she would inevitably tell. Expressing reluctance to hire a detective due to costs and uncertainty about Emily's interactions before Thursday, I sought a swift means to gather evidence. They fell into contemplative silence for a minute or more. Lisa suggested the idea of a mole, someone like Emily's best friend, to extract the truth from her. I was skeptical, but Lisa insisted, saying, "Never underestimate an angry woman. I've had enough of Emily and how she's treated us all. I believe I can craft a story that will compel her to divulge everything." Over the next hour, we devised a plan. Lisa urgently called Emily, claiming a desperate need for help and arranging a Sunday morning coffee meeting. Mike modified Lisa's old purse to hold a video camera, recording every word and facial expression. By noon on Sunday, we anticipated having substantial information. Lisa promptly contacted Emily, referencing a situation similar to the New Year's party. Emily agreed to the meeting, secretly pleased with her friend's newfound assertiveness. Lisa arrived early at the coffee shop, choosing a table under an awning, arranging her purse with the concealed camera, ensuring the optimal angle, and conducting audio tests. She positioned chairs strategically, with calm air eliminating wind noise possibilities. She set it up for one-button recording, the 16 GB card offering ample storage. Mike had ingeniously secured the camera and purse with Velcro straps, disguising lens and mic holes within the purse's pattern. Lisa was prepared. As Emily arrived, Lisa asked her to grab coffee, mentioning she would save their spot in the most secluded area. Lisa pressed the button when Emily returned with the drinks, swiftly confirming the recording. They quickly covered the basics, and Lisa began her tale. Lisa expressed her dilemma to Emily, mentioning a guy who was interested in her and that she did not know what to do. Describing him as attractive, especially since it had been ages since she and Mike had been intimate, Lisa shared that Mike completely trusted her and that she had never cheated on him. However, she admitted feeling tempted now and sought Emily's advice. Emily responded by encouraging Lisa, saying, "Go for it, girl. Honestly, I can't fathom why you haven't done this sooner. Mike's nice and all, but honey, he's past his prime. You're still young and cute. I've always admired your looks, but I've never understood why you waste your time with Mike." Lisa, surprised by Emily's lack of remorse, asked if the New Year's party incident was truly a one-time thing. Emily explained, "Honey, I won't lie to you. I had to tell you that at the time, or you might have spilled the beans. But now that you're in a similar situation, we can share everything. In fact, we can have some real steamy discussions." Lisa, now fully engaged, asked, "How did it start with you and Buddy? Are you still seeing him?" Emily, with a gleam in her eye, responded, "Oh, absolutely. It all started at the Holdens' Halloween party. Buddy had been eyeing me for months. We met discreetly on the landing, ended up in the bathroom. The encounter was passionate, to say the least. And yes, I am still seeing him. We'll be meeting next week in my own bed." Lisa expressed concern about me, asking if Emily felt any guilt. Emily dismissed it, saying, "Paul's a husband, not a lover. They serve different roles. Paul is there to do what I want, and Buddy is there for good sex. I keep Paul around because he's a good provider and follows orders. I use little tactics like checking for perfume to make him think I'd never cheat. It's like having a little puppet to control." Lisa, shocked by Emily's brazenness, asked if she had other lovers. Emily smirked and said, "Honestly, I can't count them all." The revelation was staggering. Lisa, who had thought she was helping a friend, was now fully aware of the depth of Emily's betrayal. We had enough to confront Emily, but the challenge would be in doing it the right way. In our first year of marriage, Emily had an affair with a guy she met at the supermarket. She never told him her real name, and they hooked up in various hotel rooms for 6 months until he got too attached. Emily advised Lisa to be cautious with younger guys. After that, there were several one-night stands, including a salesman who was into kinky stuff, which worked well, as he only visited town a few times a year. Emily had kept Buddy around longer than any of the others, describing him as a relentless pursuer with a lot of stamina. She mentioned that Buddy was married to a clueless woman who worked while he played around, and that she trolled when he could visit her. Lisa then asked Emily about her latest affair, and Emily launched into her fabricated story about a fictional lover named Rod. The details were irrelevant, but Emily believed every word, encouraging Lisa to take full advantage of her situation. Lisa expressed amazement at Emily's control over her affairs and doubted if she could ever treat Mike the way Emily treated me. Emily explained the dynamics in the animal kingdom, comparing dominant individuals to the rest of the pack. She asserted her alpha position over me and encouraged Lisa to take on a similar role with Mike, assuring her that freedom would be hers. Emily suggested starting with Rod and enjoying every second, stating that Mike would still be there and would fit into his natural submissive role. Emily addressed concerns about sexually transmitted diseases and asked if Lisa used protection. Lisa explained that she usually made the guy use a condom, but with Buddy, it was different due to his aggressiveness. Lisa mentioned getting scared once because it hurt to pee, but the doctor said it was irritation from rough sex. There was a time when she got infected with gonorrhea, and after that, she was more careful. Emily explained how she kept that from me by allowing me to go out with friends, mentioning my interest in playing guitar with them. She looked at me deadpan and gave me the choice, leading to a confrontation later when she took antibiotics. Lisa, eager to get the recording back to Mike and me, thanked Emily and left for home. The conspirators watched the video appalled. Lisa and Mike could hardly recognize Emily because she was never so harsh on me when others were around. I was shocked, though not as much as they were, having come to know that Emily was capable of almost anything. Lisa brought up Amy White and mentioned her concerns about Amy's knowledge of her husband's infidelity. She expressed the dilemma of whether to inform Amy about Buddy being with Emily, considering the risk of blowing the cover. Lisa described Amy as seeming deeply unhappy with her husband's reputation as a bully and pondered if Amy might be entirely cowed by him. Lisa suggested that talking to Amy might affect her plans and sought help from Emily in handling the situation. Lisa thanked us for our assistance and assured us that we would be kept out of further details. She specifically asked me not to do anything stupid in response. I acknowledged the mistakes I had made over the past 10 years, but clarified that I did not intend anything violent. I assured them that I would handle the situation my way and requested strict confidentiality. I asked everyone to avoid answering if Amy called, taking full responsibility. Later that evening, Lisa phoned Amy White and introduced herself. She confirmed they had talked at the Holden parties and asked if Amy could talk freely. Lisa then broached the subject, revealing that Buddy was cheating on Amy with someone Lisa knew. She expressed regret and conveyed Amy's right to know. Silence followed on the other end, with Lisa discerning sniffles and sobs. Amy shared her frustration, mentioning past issues that Buddy claimed were resolved a year ago. She had taken him back based on his promise, with a clear warning of ending the relationship if he repeated his mistakes. Lisa offered comfort and assistance, expressing a willingness to help based on Amy's decision. Amy appreciated the concern and outlined her resolution. She emphasized that her partner would never share her bed again, detailing the terms of a stringent prenuptial agreement that would leave him penniless in case of divorce due to proven infidelity. She described him as unfit for employment, good only for accompanying her to events and engaging in extramarital affairs. She affirmed her determination to ensure he faced the consequences. In response to my offer to gather evidence, Amy committed to maintaining composure for a few days until she had the evidence in her hands. Plans were made for someone to collect preliminary evidence from my office the next day. Lisa arranged a meeting, contacting me at work to schedule an appointment in her office on Monday at 1 p.m. Entering Lisa's office with a video camera, I introduced myself to Mrs. White, the wife of the man involved with my wife. I placed the camera on her desk, cued the relevant section, and played the recording. Despite the faint screen visibility, the audio quality was excellent. Witnessing Mrs. White's tears, I offered a comforting gesture, acknowledging her familiarity with her husband's behavior over time. Subsequently, I revealed my plans to Amy, stating that participation was optional, but extending the offer nonetheless. Amy disclosed the years of intimidation she had endured, expressing her desire to turn the tables and make her husband suffer. When asked about potential violence, I acknowledged that things might get messy, but assured her I had no intention of causing harm. Following the meeting with Amy, work became an unwelcome distraction. Lingering effects of Emily's words in the video affected me deeply. While acknowledging some truth in her remarks, I defended my conciliatory nature, understanding her perception of me as weak. Despite the hurt, I contemplated showcasing a different side of myself on Thursday, pondering how Emily would react to a more assertive approach. I dismissed any idea of reconciliation, recognizing the irreparable loss of trust in our relationship. Tuesday and Wednesday were marked by reduced office productivity as I meticulously reviewed potential scenarios. The complexity of variables reminded me of the fragility of well-laid plans. Multiple potential outcomes, including my preferred approach, were considered. Thursday's events would necessitate improvisation, and I dedicated time to refining my physical abilities in anticipation. At home, tensions prevailed, limiting conversations to necessities. Emily, typically assertive, observed my recent behavior, aiming to understand the issue and regain control. Ironically, she found herself anticipating, on Tuesday night, as Emily showered, I searched my dresser drawers for a childhood keepsake from my grandfather. Both my father and grandfather had military backgrounds. Grandpa, after Normandy, had acquired a set of steel knuckles from a German soldier as a war souvenir. As I examined the menacing steel equipment, I recalled Grandpa's caution about its use, but acknowledged that it might be handy someday. That day had nearly arrived. It was a form of war. Emily and her lover had engaged in unfair play, prompting me to force a hearty breakfast on Thursday. I knew I would not eat lunch, but hoped to slow down my rival. Pacing in my office, I deposited items in the guest bedroom, contingent on Emily's choice of waiting in the backyard or returning inside after opening the gate. Regardless, I could adapt. Manipulating the set of knuckles on my desk, I paced, stoking my controlled anger. By 1 o'clock, I changed into jeans, a t-shirt, and sturdy running shoes. Checking my pockets, cell phone, keys, knuckles, and wallet, I called Emily from my desk phone to preempt her call. The conversation was calm and non-threatening, explaining meetings and phone unavailability, anticipating a possible delay in returning home. Emily interpreted my call as a sign of returning docility, relaxing with this knowledge. Perhaps she'd reward me with makeup sex that evening. She prepared to meet her lover, and the two drove to the park. In 20 minutes, Loverboy's car was absent, so Amy dropped him off and he jogged to our house, slipping into the backyard through the side gate. Our therapy sessions continued to be a cornerstone of our reconciliation efforts. They provided a safe space for us to express our feelings, address our fears, and work through our issues. The progress was slow but steady, and I began to see a glimmer of hope for our future together. Lisa's willingness to face her mistakes and work toward rebuilding our relationship gave me a reason to keep trying. As the months went by, I started to notice a shift in my feelings. While the pain of the betrayal still lingered, it was no longer as intense as it once was. The constant reminders of her infidelity became less frequent, and I began to focus more on the positive aspects of our relationship. Lisa's dedication to making things right and her efforts to rebuild trust gradually began to mend the rift between us. I also began to see the importance of self-care and personal growth in this process, engaging in activities that brought me joy. Spending time with supportive friends and pursuing hobbies helped me regain a sense of normalcy and balance. These activities were vital in helping me manage the emotional turmoil and find moments of happiness amid the chaos. The decision to stay or leave was still a heavy burden, but I found solace in the progress we had made. Our children's well-being remained my top priority, and I was determined to provide them with a stable and loving home. The thought of separating and co-parenting was still painful, but I was beginning to see a path forward that included healing and reconciliation. The idea of using my pass to get back at Lisa had crossed my mind several times, but I realized that it wouldn't solve anything. Revenge would only complicate matters and create more pain for everyone involved. Instead, I focused on the possibility of rebuilding our relationship and finding a way to move past the betrayal. Through our continued efforts, I began to understand that forgiveness was not about forgetting or condoning the betrayal. It was about letting go of the anger and resentment that kept me trapped in the past. Forgiveness was a choice I had to make for my own peace of mind and the well-being of my family. It was a process that required time, patience, and a commitment to healing. In the end, the journey toward reconciliation was far from over, but we were making progress. Each day brought new challenges and opportunities for growth. The road ahead was still uncertain, but I was determined to keep moving forward one step at a time. Whether we ultimately stayed together or decided to go our separate ways, I knew that the effort we put into healing and rebuilding our relationship would not be in vain. Our nightly sharing sessions continued to be a source of strength and connection. They allowed us to reflect on our progress, address our fears, and celebrate our victories. These sessions were a testament to our commitment to each other and our determination to overcome the challenges we faced. As I looked back on the journey we had undertaken, I realized that the pain and struggle had brought us closer in unexpected ways. We had faced our darkest moments and emerged with a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship. While the future was still uncertain, I was hopeful that with time, patience, and continued effort, we could build a new and stronger foundation for our family. In conclusion, the path to forgiveness and reconciliation was long and arduous, but it was also filled with moments of growth, connection, and hope. Lisa's dedication to making amends, our commitment to open communication, and our willingness to face our issues head-on were key factors in our progress. As we continued to navigate the complexities of our relationship, I held on to the hope that we could emerge from this crisis stronger and more united than ever before. Whether we stayed together or went our separate ways, I knew that the journey we had undertaken would ultimately lead to healing and a better future for all of us.